I'm here, back at it again for another Genshin video. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I myself enjoyed the time off, but I'm excited to be back and making some content for you guys. So for today's video, I'm going to be covering a topic that I know has been covered a lot, but I wanted to give my thoughts on them nonetheless. And that topic is crowns and how I specifically use crowns and kind of prioritize their use. So let's get into it. So my apologies for my fellow Genshin vets. This video will probably be more applicable to newer Genshin players, but who knows, maybe you'll glean something of insight as well. No pun intended there. So if you don't know what crowns are probably the single most important and they're also one of the most rare items in Genshin. And basically what they do is they let you max the talents of your characters. So I think if you've been playing Genshin from the start, you should have, I believe, 14 crowns. We usually only get about one every patch, so every 6 weeks from the events, we'll get a new crown. As you can see, I only have two. But like I said, they are designed to max the talents of your characters. So if you didn't know, each character has three different talents. You have your autos or your basics, you have your elemental skill, and you have your elemental burst. So for your autos, the max level you can get is 10. That's 10 is when you crown them. I guess technically you could get them to 11 if you're using child, but for your elemental skill and your elemental burst, these can get up to level 13 if you have constellation 3 and constellation 5 of a character. But the reason I'm such a big advocate for using crowns is because if you break it down, there's only 5 ways to make your character stronger. You have your attributes, which is just raising their level. You have their weapons, you have their artifacts, you have their constellations, and you have their talents. Now, of those 5, I would say 2 of them are quite a bit less viable than the others. And the biggest one is obviously constellations. Constellations are really only viable, and I put viable in quotes, if you are investing, real life money, or if you're saving your primo gems like a mad lad, like Envy. I mean, constellations just aren't really dependable for improving your character's strength. Artifacts, obviously, we all know, and I, for one, especially know how important artifacts are. But these puppies, the RNG on them is so brutal, you can literally spend months and months grinding out the pieces that you want and need for your characters. And I actually think that you could probably get by with less than perfect artifacts if you just quote unquote min max other aspects of your character. So, of the three remaining quote unquote ways to strengthen your character, talents are easily the most important, and you're going to see the most drastic improvement to your characters if you invest in the talents, if you crown them. So now that I've given you an overview, I just give you kind of the quick tips on how to, raise your character's talents and how to crown them if you're going to use your crowns. And obviously this is pretty normal, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to want to invest in your main damage dealer or your main damage dealers. For me, I'm going to use Eula because she's one of my favorite characters and she's probably my best main DPS. So you're going to want to invest heavily into their autos. Your main damage dealer is going to be on the field for probably more than 85% of the time. So you're going to want their autos to do a good amount of damage. And especially when it comes to autos, you're going to want to be mindful of that specific character's kit. So just looking at another character, let's take Zhao for instance. You want his autos to be level 10 because of the plunge damage boost that you get. Even for support characters like Kazuha, I mean if you want Kazuha to do better damage, you want to raise his autos pretty high as well. So you definitely want to, I would say crown, but if you want to get them to 9 or 8, fine, for autos. And then obviously for your skill and your burst, just to improve the multipliers on these bad boys, you're going to want to raise them, if not crown them. Now, after you've selected your main damage dealers, or just, your favorite characters in general, you're going to want to move from your main damage dealers to your main supports. And you want to focus on the supports that are going to make your main damage dealers better. So for my example, I am going to use Albedo because he's free to play king, and I really like this character. So since Albedo is a support or a sub DPS, you really don't want to invest into his auto attack. Now take everything I say with a grain of salt because you can build your characters how you want to. I mean, that's the beauty of Genshin. But for me, I don't advise investing into your supports early on because there's just not enough resources. So for Albedo, I'm not going to invest into his autos. It doesn't really help his kit at all. But for his skill and his burst, I mean, these are tremendously important to him. In fact, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm actually going to crown his skill right here. Boom. But that's pretty much it. I would say that's kind of the formula for, raising skills, raising talents, using crowns. I can't advise crowning your characters enough. If you are a hoarder, kudos to you. You have more resolve, more patience than me. As you can see, I mean, I've triple crowned Raiden, I've triple crowned Eula, I'm gonna double crown Zhongli, I'm gonna double crown Albedo, I've triple crowned Zhao, I've double crowned Child. I'm a big advocate for crowning my characters because if you think about it, outside of spending money, if I can min-max and make my characters as strong as possible, I'm going to do that. So that's why I'm a big advocate of using crowns. But if you're a hoarder, I totally respect that as well. If you're saving for your husbandos and wifos, all the power to you. But if you are a newer player, I highly suggest using crowns and considering using them, especially if you're struggling in the Spiral Abyss because if you're hoarding your crowns and you're struggling in this Spiral Abyss, I don't really know what you're doing because if you think about it, the better you do in Spiral Abyss, the more primos you can get from Spiral Abyss, the more primos you have, the more wishes you can do on the banners you want to do. So that's my 2 cents. I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Comment down below what you think of crowns. Are you guys hoarding them or are you kind of using them liberally like myself? But like I said, I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.